Welcome to my channel Daily Bulletin News. Vivian and Philip scheme to steal Titan, while Ivan kidnaps Stefan and takes him to, spoiler. In Horton Square, Sarah is stunned to see Fiona free and drinking a martini. Sarah asks what she's doing out of jail. Fiona declares the DA dropped the charges, so she's a free woman. Sarah asks how this is possible after all she's done. Fiona tells Sarah it's all thanks to her. Fiona explains that all her competing statements wouldn't hold up in court. Sarah says this can't be, and Brady saw her too. Fiona relays that Brady was blackout drunk, so he wouldn't make a credible witness. Sarah reminds Fiona she confessed, but Fiona points out she didn't admit it to the Salem PD, so she's in the clear. Sarah doesn't understand what happened to the woman who wanted to make amends with Xander, who claimed to love her like a daughter. Was it all a lie? Fiona insists it was real, and she'd do anything to take what happened back. She's ashamed of herself, but drinking dulls the pain of knowing she's ruined everything as she always does. Sarah tries to wheel away, but Fiona stops her. She knows she has no right to ask her this, but she hoped she'd do her one last favor. At the Kuriaki's mansion, Justin tells Xander not to sign over Titan to Kristen just yet, as someone has filed a motion prohibiting this transfer. Xander asks who, as it would have to be a family member. Philip walks in and declares he's back, and he's going to stop Xander from throwing away their father's legacy. Xander tells Philip he has no idea what he's doing, but Philip screams, "I'm Victor's son too." Xander points out Victor didn't leave him Titan, so he has no legal rights. Philip begs to differ. Kristen decides to take her leave and tells Xander that he can keep the first vial of the serum and to let her know when he can trade for the second. Kristen storms out, and Xander points out that Philip isn't in Victor's will. Philip says that was to protect him from legal implications, but now that Brady has forgiven him, he's back. He produces a letter mailed to the facility in Europe where he was receiving treatment. He had already left there for Dad's funeral, and it only recently made its way to him. He hands it to Justin, who reads it. It's a letter from Victor before the crash, and in it Victor says made a new will and wanted to leave Titan to him, but he couldn't because Philip was pretending to be dead at the time. Xander asks Justin if he has a case. Justin can't say, but this is enough to block the transfer for now. Xander explains this is for Sarah, and begs Philip to drop the lawsuit. Philip replies, "Sorry, Xander, not a chance in hell." Philip claims he feels for Sarah, but there is no guarantee the serum will work. And is it really worth giving up a multi-million-dollar company for? Xander insists it is. Philip says Xander brought this on himself for being naive about a mother who treated him like crap and abandoned him, and maybe if he were paying attention he'd had seen his mother was still a hopeless drunk before she mowed down his wife. Kristen decides to take her leave and tells Xander that he can keep the first vial of the serum and to let her know when he can trade for the second. Kristen storms out, and Xander points out that Philip isn't in Victor's will. Philip says that was to protect him from legal implications, but now that Brady has forgiven him, he's back. He produces a letter mailed to the facility in Europe where he was receiving treatment. He had already left there for Dad's funeral, and it only recently made its way to him. He hands it to Justin, who reads it. It's a letter from Victor before the crash, and in it Victor says made a new will and wanted to leave Titan to him, but he couldn't because Philip was pretending to be dead at the time. Xander asks Justin if he has a case. Justin can't say, but this is enough to block the transfer for now. Xander explains this is for Sarah, and begs Philip to drop the lawsuit. Philip replies, "Sorry, Xander, not a chance in hell." Philip claims he feels for Sarah, but there is no guarantee the serum will work, and is it really worth giving up a multi-million-dollar company for? Xander insists it is. Philip says Xander brought this on himself for being naive about a mother who treated him like crap and abandoned him, and maybe if he were paying attention he'd had seen his mother was still a hopeless drunk before she mowed down his wife. Back in Horton Square, Fiona finishes her cocktail and walks off. At John and Marlena's, Dric stops by to welcome Brady home as a free man. Brady can't believe he trusted Fiona. Eric thanks God it's all over and the right person is behind bars. Brady says he's the reason he's free, and he can never thank him enough. Brady still blames himself for being drunk that night, which led to Fiona driving the car. Eric says he wasn't driving, and he needs to stay sober and resolve to move on. Brady shares the good news that Sarah could be back on her feet again, thanks to Kristen. They sit down, and Brady fills him in on the serum, but Eric finds Kristen's generosity out of character. Brady admits that Kristen has been full of surprises latterly. There is a knock at the door, and it's Kristen. She walks in and hopes she's not interrupting. Eric says it's fine, as he has to pack and get home to Nicole and Jude. Brady again thanks his brother and says he'll miss him. Eric says they'll be in touch, and he departs. Alone, Kristen surprises Brady with a new car since she had his old one destroyed. Brady says this car has a years-long waiting list. She says Rachel's dad deserves to drive around in style. He says she's been very generous lately, what with handing the drug over to Xander. She admits she hasn't handed it over yet. She says she gave him the first half, and Rolf is putting the final touches on the second half, which she'll give him once everything is sorted out. At the DeMera mansion, Stefan talks to Stefano's portrait about how his father never gave up, so he's not giving up on his marriage to Gabby. He's going to fight for the woman he loves. Suddenly a masked man grabs Stefan from behind and knocks him out with a chokehold. Stefan is dropped onto the sofa, and the man, Ivan, removes his mask. Vivian enters and tells him, "Excellent work." Vivian says when she first heard about Stefan's divorce from Gabby, she thought it couldn't be true. She is going to make sure he never falls prey to Gabby again. She looks over the divorce papers on the table and thinks Stefan is being far too generous. She wishes she could change the terms but signs the paper in her son's name. She declares her son free at last. Vivian tells the unconscious Stefan he'll be angry with her for what she's done, but then he'll realize it was for the best. She tells him that she loves him, and will see him soon. At home, Gabby answers the door, thinking the knock is Stefan, but it's her cousin Javi. She can't believe he's here. Javi says, "Javi's here, he's queer, and Salem better get used to it." They embrace. Gabby says they just found out about his mom, as they got a letter from their other aunt along with his mom's engagement ring. She wanted Rafe to have it. Javi fumes that Rafe was always her favorite, the son she wished she had. Gabby says she doubts her mother meant it as a slight and gave it to Rafe because Javi wasn't going to give it to a woman. He says he could give it to a man or keep it for himself. He says it doesn't compare to the ring on her finger, and she hit the jackpot with Stefan. Gabby tells him they won't be married much longer as they're getting a divorce. Gabby fills Javi in on all that's happened with Ava and EJ. She admits she's starting to have second thoughts about ending her marriage, as she's still in love with Stefan. Javi says you can't choose who you love, and maybe her husband will also change his mind. He hopes her marriage works out if it is what she wants. She says it is, and talking to him has helped her see it. She says enough of her screwed-up life and asks why he is here in Salem. He says with his mother gone, he thought Salem would be a fresh start. Gabby is thrilled he's moving here, and they hug. She tells him he has to stay with her and Rafe. He was hoping she'd say that, and everything he has is in his truck. She says they'll have so much fun. He says he still has to find a job, so she tells him to come work for her. She explains she needs a new assistant after her last one tried to kill her and Rafe and was sent to the asylum. She asks him to take the job, and they'll have a blast. He agrees, especially since it comes with freebies. Javi goes to get his things from his car and finds an envelope addressed to Gabby on the doorstep. He hands it to her, and it's divorce papers from Stefan. She can't believe he signed them. Javi suggests she talk to him, and maybe he'll change his mind. When she sees his wedding ring in the envelope, she thinks Stefan's mind is made up. Stefan wakes up tied in the trunk of a car and sees Ivan standing over him. He asks why he's in here. Ivan says it's good to see him, and he's just following his mother's orders. Stefan asks where they're going. Ivan says they're headed to Alemania so he can start a new life without Gabby. Stefan yells that he needs to stay in town and fight for his marriage, and he struggles to free himself. Ivan tells him Madam thinks that's a bad idea, and she's already ensured his marriage is over. He tells Stefan to relax and enjoy the ride as he closes the trunk. Vivian meets with Philip at a room in the Salem Inn. She asks how it went. Philip says Xander's head exploded, as she predicted, as he needs that drug for Sarah. She laughs that he'll have to find another way to help her, as soon, Titan will belong to them. Next on Days of Our Lives, Chad tells Julie the truth about Abigail, and Mark and Kat fear Clyde's wrath for failing. Stay tuned and subscribe the channel.